Where arts and adventure summits the airwaves. This is the Ogden Arts and Adventure Show. I'm R. Brandon Long, alongside
Todd Oberndorfer.
The Todd Oberndorfer.
Oh, thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah. We are your hosts for the greatest podcast in all the land. Joining us in the trailer is a boatload of dudes. So T. Troy Price, Executive Director. Now, Callantine, also Troy. So we have T&T here in the corner. You confused me because you said that you were the Snowbasin Ski Education Foundation Executive Director, but that Troy was not the new. He's the new one, but not like what's it? Are there two different groups going? What's going on?
So the Snowbasin ski team is ran by the Snowbasin Sport Education Foundation.
Sport.
A nonprofit.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm on the board for the foundation. So I'm the most recent chair. I'm now the past chair. We brought Jen Androsco in, who will probably come for a future podcast. We'll see.
Okay.
So she's the new chair. I'm staying on as past chair for 1 year. But the nonprofit board runs the ski team side, the capital campaign and some of the other stuff. Troy does all the real work on the snow with our coaches, running the program itself, getting that done. And it was so that's kind of the differential there.
So his title is Executive Director, Snowbasin Ski
Ski Team.
Ski Team.
Yep.
I'm just making notes in real time.
You got that?
Yeah.
Is that all clear now?
And Troy, correct me if I'm wrong, even though I should be the one.
Okay, so very good. Yeah. Joining us is on the adventure side, on the arts side, Shane Osguthorpe, lead keyboardist for The Proper Way.
Yeah, rhythm keyboardist.
Rhythm keyboardist for The Proper Way.
Your business card is like just line after line after line.
When you're on the airplane and they're like, "What do you do?" What do you tell them?
I usually say I'm a musician first.
You do?
Yeah, I usually say my night job before.
And then Sarah elbows you like, "Where's the business flight?"
Yeah, if Sarah's there, I have to say, I'm a marketing
Ogden
guy.
You have a Visit Ogden hat, shirt, coat.
But I'm a musician.
I'm a musician. That gets the free beers or something on the flight, maybe.
No, it's not even that. It's honestly just that's what my soul feels like saying. It really is. It's like I'm not trying to be like a big giant rock star. You know that I'm a cover band guy that plays rhythm keyboards in a small local band, and it's just. But yeah, if you ask me who I am, I'm like, yeah, I'm a musician. So
you're a musician.
Yeah.
All right, Troy. Should we dig into how you got to where you're at? You're new. You're 5 months in on the ski team. I'm assuming you were a skier, before doing this. So. What's your background?
A wild assumption.
Not once on the mountain.
Not once on the mountain. Yeah. But now I run the ski team. No, but I want to know, like, did you race like professionally? Like, what's the background? Like, how does that go? Like, how do you get to the job that you're at now?
Of course. Before I dive into that, just like Shane, I like to tell people I'm a ski coach.
Yeah.
Simply, it's been a career, and as Troy mentioned, executive director. So there's lots of admin work and staff and hiring and training, but what's true to my heart.
It's your soul, right?
Yeah, coaching, right. Teaching, coaching.
My background is local here in Ogden. Started skiing at Snowbasin when I was age of 2. Dad was ski patrol, mom was ski instructor. And so it was a playground all through my childhood. Was a member of the Snowbasin ski team growing up under the direction of Ray Miller, and just continued that passion. He brought me in as a young coach for Snowbasin for 13 years. And then the last 13 years, I've been down in Salt Lake at Monarch Ski Academy. That's the junior program director there, and developing their program and pushing kids up to the national team. So it's great to be back in Ogden, back at Snowbasin, and back where the heart and soul of the program lies. And just a shout out to Callantine and the board of directors for the growth and that hard work that they've done over the last few years to make it an opportunity for me to come back and continue to build the program.
So the experience you gained in Salt Lake, pushing people to a national team, can you bring that to the Ogden team?
Absolutely. We've got that foundation, the number of kids that are in the local area, and then it's just working with Snowbasin to create the right training environment to push kids all the way through.
What are they missing right now? Like, what's the first thing you're like, okay, we probably need to do this?
Yeah, that list is pretty long, but it's knocking one
There's
thing
something
off
at the top
time,
of it,
right?
though, right? What's at the very top of it?
The biggest thing for athletes to push through is time on snow. And so it's looking for every opportunity to enhance the training environment, whether that's working with the schools to get kids on the hill. So it's not necessarily things that Snowbasin needs to change. It's about the community supporting from the academic side of it. But then on snow, it's about creating the right surface, the surface that they're going to see at the higher level events, which means a harder surface, icier, so more water content coming out of the snowmaking system, different things that they can do with grooming. And so there's there's little changes that we hope to make over the next year, but it's really what's going to happen in the next 3 to 5 years. That's
Well, yeah, and Snowbasin, I mean, Snowbasin's was the host of an Olympic venue.
Yeah, it's a world-class resort, and we're happy to call it home.
So what do they need to do to sort of change or update the mountain to prep the skiers?
Yeah, what can we do? Brandon will write a check.
I'll just, let me know. Let me know.
Like, so much of it is there, and it's in place.
Okay.
Like I said, they have a world-class snowmaking system. They have great machinery for their grooming. Lift operations are just getting better with each and every year.
Yeah, the amount of money that Snowbasin has invested up there that goes under the radar is just amazing.
Under the snow too.
Well, no, like their GM used to work for the over at Canyons and Park City and all that stuff. He's part of that Vail Corporation and he was part of that link between the Canyons and Park City, and it was like a $50 million investment that they blew up all over the media. Look at how much investment, blah, blah, blah. He says, like, Snowbasin will do that in a weekend. I mean, there's hundreds of millions of dollars being invested up there that they don't go seeking accolades for and draw attention to. But the improvements they're making up there are substantial as far as what I understand.
That's the difference.
Sorry, that's my day job that I'm talking from now. Sorry.
No, that's absolutely right. You know what they're doing with the new Des Moines chairlift?
Yep.
Those things come in and they're kind of under the radar. And so it's nice to see Snowbasin recognized as a world-class resort and across the industry.
Well, and their commitment to the skier experience above everything else.
Absolutely.
Like they're going to do everything they can to maintain the best skier experience they can, while also developing teams, which means altering runs and snow conditions and grooming and stuff. But yeah, it sounds like they're willing to work with you. That's cool.
And in just a short time, I've had the opportunity to meet a lot of families, and those families are coming from all over the United States. Mm-hmm. And so Snowbasin is drawing in a bigger audience. It's not just the Weber County or Morgan County residents. And so it's that level to where we are able to build upon that foundation and draw in those top level athletes.
This is a big opportunity for you.
It is.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
This is awesome. Who's like doing it really well in Utah, or is it going to be Snowbasin's it? Or like, is there someone that, like, where you came from in Salt Lake that was like, that's a pretty good model to sort of transfer to Snowbasin?
Yeah, the Romark Ski Academy there in Salt Lake is a unique model in that it's partnered with the Roland Hall School. So it's a private school, private ski academy where athletes come around the country and even in some cases the world, Australia and so forth. So it's a different model. It's a unique model, but it's great that they're here in our backyard. It's great that I have history with them to collaborate with and to have a partnership where our athletes can train with their athletes on occasion. And, even last year, I did a little mentoring with the program last year and was able to bring my athletes from Romark into Snowbasin, and we collaborated on a few training sessions and vice versa. The Snowbasin athletes came down to Park City and the Utah Olympic Park for some training sessions. And so I hope to build upon that collaboration and create those opportunities, especially for those top-level athletes that need a little different exposure. They need a little different pace, that different surface that we talked about earlier. Like, those are the great opportunities that are right here in our backyard.
Go ahead.
I'm always so excited to hear, kind of look behind the curtain and kind of see how this is all made. But there is a big part of me that wants to believe that I learned all of it that I need to know from those 80s ski comedies, like Ski School, Ski
Hot Dog,
Patrol,
or whatever.
Miller movie.
Because I feel like I know how you learned how to ski. Right? And if it's anything more than that, I kind of don't want to hear, but I kind of do want to hear that.
I have a question for you. Can I be so bold?
Yeah, please do.
How far out are we from having a locally raised kid that grew up on this mountain standing in the Olympics? And we're going to have watch parties downtown because there's going to be a big downhiller or a big slalom skier. Like, how many years out do you think you are before we see somebody that we're all going to be having a watch party for?
Well, I think that's part of the trouble with our sport is the watch party, the highlight of the athletes. I mean, right now, locally, there's an athlete that grew up through the Snowbasin program, went to Romark Ski Academy, and then went to college. She just won an event for the NCAAs. And so participating in the NCAA championships, it's limited to only 32 girls.
Wow.
She's one of those 32.
Okay. So we're there then. We're knocking on the door of
and then there's a couple young girls that just graduated from our program and are skiing with Park City's program, and they're on track. They're getting invited to regional, national development camp opportunities.
That's
and
awesome.
so they are coming from our local community and from our program. It's our goal to retain those athletes a little longer before we let them graduate and move on to what they need next in their development. But really where the heart and soul is for our ski team is that foundation. It's building the ski passion. There's so many families that start in the sport, maybe that Learn and Earn program that Snowbasin's been so successful with. That's where they first get introduced to it. But it's our development program that takes them to that next level and really instills that passion to where it's a family sport. The family's committed to it. They're spending their resources and time available. And so it's building that foundation where we can really build the community behind it.
Awesome.
What's the state of the ski racing right now? I know U.S. female racers have been doing really well as of late and making headlines and stuff. And has that helped push kids get into the sport? Have you noticed that at all?
Yeah, it's still, it's an industry. Ski racing is still pretty bleak, compared to professional sports. But having a headliner like Michaela Schifrin on the national team definitely draws a lot of attention. But it's bleak, right? Like we need to do more. Luckily, I've made those contacts. I have a couple athletes that are currently on the national team and bringing them in as mentors or guest coaches at times and signing autographs and trying to promote them at the same time of promoting the sport and promoting the opportunity. And the biggest goal that we have with the Snowbasin ski team is the athletes see a journey. They see that longevity and that they can stay in the sport for a long time.
So it sounds like you need a bigger pool of kids to kind of work their way up through the system, right?
The pool's there.
Oh, okay.
It's about just retaining the athletes that are in our community. That's one thing that the Snowbasin's done a really good job with over the last 10 years is building that base, that pool. The program was with the foundation and then went to the ski school for a while. And then just a couple of years ago, it came back underneath the ski team. And from that point on, it's really thrived. And a guy of recognition there is Andrew Rockenfelder, known as Rocky. He's put his heart and soul behind that program and has really grown it.
Callantine.
Yeah, I guess just on the sort of the future of the sport and retention, one of the opportunities here for Troy, one of the reasons the board wanted to make sure that this spot became available, we've been absent of board or an executive director for, 4 years now. We had one before and he was great. We had some good growth and then a lot of different things kind of happened. We weren't able to hire that position back. So one of the board's initiatives was, look, we need to position ourselves to be able to afford and hire and appropriately leverage a good executive director, someone who's talented, and create that space so that the board could then step back and focus on the things that will hopefully keep the sport more affordable. So we're as a board, highly engaged with the capital campaign and fundraising to help subordinate or subsidize our tuition costs, right? So as these kids hit 14, 15, 16, the sport becomes astronomically expensive, and that's often where we see the retention fall off, right? Because you start making decisions between, well, I can do this or that, and parents have to make financial decisions as well as time commitment decisions. And so ideally with Troy in this position, he can really just run all the day-to-day stuff, some of which had landed in the board's lap for the last few years, and we can take that off the board's lap and let the board really do what they do best.
Which is what?
Well, ideally, what we can do well is fundraising and have a capital campaign come together so we can improve facilities on site, right? We can help, enhance our race venue. We can, again, just stock the coffers so that our the subsidized tuition can be greater, right? We can offer scholarship opportunities. We hadn't had a scholarship fund in place forever, basically. And now we have a pretty substantial amount of cash available for for scholarship opportunities. So kids that are either we have different, merit-based scholarships as well as financial scholarships and different things that our kids can now get, which is huge, right? If a kid makes it to championships, they may have raced, what do you think, Troy, like a dozen races throughout the year, each of which might be out of town at Sun Valley, Jackson, Grand Targhee, Mammoth. You do the math, right? You're paying for hotels, skis, waxing, all the stuff, the coaching to and from. And then all of a sudden you get invited to go to Tahoe for 5 days to race again. And and you get another bill for this regional, or national championship event. And so our scholarship fund ideally will help subsidize that, so those kids can then even just take advantage of the merit-based opportunity that they were awarded, and help keep them in the sport and keep it more attainable financially. And then even on the low end, right, just getting into the sport, our goal is to make sure that we lower the barrier of entry financially for these kids that are really talented, have got committed parents that want them to succeed, because there's so much beyond just learning how to ski that these kids get for life. Just growing them as people is a huge deal of what we do. Mm-hmm. And so anyway, so hopefully, with Troy in place now, hopefully, but we're already seeing it happen. We're able to really laser focus as a board on those other efforts, and have good fundraising events and opportunities, as well as connecting for capital raising and awareness for other things that we need, because we do need more assets for safety, BNet, that type of stuff. So we're stoked to have Troy on board, and couldn't be more thrilled to have someone local like him. So,
Todd?
I love that you mentioned those soft skills. I think that previous life I was an advisor for young art students, and I think that the most important thing for me was these arts and humanities students. I almost said kids. These students would learn in addition to just being able to draw, right? And so in this case, it was the idea of being flexible, not saying no, growing thick skin. Like, there was all sorts of things they can take into the real life. And so I would love you to talk a little bit more about that. Like, what do you see these, I want to say these young people again, but these students taking away from these programs outside of just the skiing?
No, I appreciate the opportunity to speak to that, because it's true to my core of just the character traits that we're able to develop. Ski racing is a very tough sport in the fact that the equipment that you're carrying around, the weather, the conditions that you're in, it's timed to the hundredth of a second. A lot of times you're losing by those hundredths of a second. There's one kid on top of a field of 100. And so it's very demanding in that regard. And so as a coach, when you can focus on the character traits of being kind, being respectful, having some grit, some perseverance to fight through those challenges, goal setting, the positive mindset that goes involved, the process that's geared towards it instead of just outcome based, like all those things that they can apply throughout their life, they're taught through our lessons and through our daily programming. Quick little side story here. I got a text yesterday from an athlete that I've coached for many years, and she just got a full ride scholarship to Nebraska for golf. Huh. However, she was an athlete in ski racing for 12 years. And prior to that, her dad said, so we reflected back on this now that she's graduating from high school and going on this journey to play Nebraska golf, was that we instilled the opportunity for her to say thanks and appreciate the employees and the people around her, the volunteers that work at races, the lift operators, the ski patrol, all those people that really take it to that level of supporting our athletes. But that attitude of gratitude was something that her parents reflected on and kind of developed her as the person that she is.
Well, thanks for sharing.
Yeah, fascinating. What kids want to be involved, or parents listening to this, how do they get in touch with the ski team and get rolling?
Yeah, the easiest way is our website, just snowbasinskiteam.org. Through that process, you can dive into the different programs that are offered. Registration's right there on the website. There's some bios for our coaching staff so they can read up on it.
We're early for once. It's early August, but it'll come fast. So are there deadlines to get involved, or?
It's pretty open-ended. We want to make sure that we're supporting the local community. Right now, our roster's already about 75% full.
Okay.
And so there's a ton of returning athletes, which is great. Like we talked to earlier about that retention fact. And then for new athletes, we're always looking for those younger kids, the 5-6-year-olds, to start their journey to build things off. And
so you think ski racing automatically it's alpine, but you guys added ski-mo and there's other stuff. Are you
Absolutely.
over all the things now, or?
I am, and there's a lot for me to learn there.
Yeah.
The ski-mo is something new and different. It's new for our community, new for our program, but new for me as well. And we're excited to have that as a pillar of our program. But what I'm most excited about is our free ride program. It's growing at a rapid rate, and we've got some great coaches in place that are teaching the athletes about avalanche awareness, the safety components, the right gear, knowing the right terrain, And so all of those aspects, we're finding athletes gravitate towards the free ride.
Yeah.
And it's a great opportunity for them to stay in the sport and to enjoy the mountains and enjoy our community.
Did free ride did they make an Olympic venue for that? Or is that a sport for the Olympics, free riding?
There's a world tour.
World tour.
Yep.
And because Skimo will start as an Olympic event soon, right?
I believe
Next Olympics? Yep. Yeah. I saw, I was emceeing an event that it was a Skimo. It was different because they're moving towards that race so it was like timed, and there's a lot of more rules to it, where ski mountaineering used to just be sort of loosey. Yeah. But they have like certain judges there and everything. You had to do certain things, and there was the certain course that it's almost like speed climbing, where the course has to be set a certain way, so that there's standards for the sport. But fun stuff.
It is.
Yeah. So 5 months in.
5 weeks.
5 weeks in.
Yeah.
5 weeks in. Wow. Okay.
July 1st was the official day. But again, with my past going up through the program and starting my coaching career here at Snowbasin, I've always kept my fingers in the mix, if you will. And I've lived in South Ogden, so Snowbasin's always been home.
Sweet.
So it's fun for me to look over the roster of staff as we reorganize a little bit. There's a lot of alum that are staff members giving back to the community, and so it's athletes that I've coached in my earlier career.
That's cool.
Congrats. That's awesome. Do you have anything else?
No.
You just look like
no, but please feel free and sort of pipe in here.
Yeah.
Sort of as this continues. So I think this is probably a good transition. Speaking of people looking for a free ride, we'll introduce our musician. But before we go there, I like earlier. Sorry, that's stuck in my.
Why
head.
do I keep showing up for these?
If it's not you, it's going to be somebody.
You're our favorite.
Somebody. Yeah, exactly. Where you said earlier you are a musician first, I want to ask that same question to Brandon and kind of the rest of us, as far as how do you describe what?
Yeah, you're on an airplane. Says what do you do
now?
Yeah,
podcast producer.
Okay. What was it?
Podcast. A podcast. You say podcaster. And that's recent for me, and it's weird. But if you say podcaster, pretty much everyone's like, "Oh, you're Joe Rogan." Like, no, because really, the way our business works is it's split between producing podcasts for other people, and then we get some sponsorships for the shows that we produce. And so I'm not someone who's like an internet personality that's famous or something that makes their money from that yet. Todd maybe, but Todd gets recognized everywhere in town. I did, though. This is a true story. I did go, this is so funny, through the drive-thru at Jimmy John's on 12th the other day, going through the drive-thru, get up there, and the guy goes, I had my Van Sessions hat on, but he couldn't see it through the window. He's like, "Hey, you do that podcast?" I'm all band session. She's like, "Yeah, man, I recognized you. I'm with such and such band." I'm like, "Oh yeah, good to see you." Oh, I can't remember what band he said he was with. He's like, "Dude, you want a free cookie? You want some chips?" I'm like, "Let's go. It's starting. This is how it starts,
man,
right
now. You're already living the Joe Rogan lifestyle, man.
Oh
free
my
cookie?
God. Free cookie at the Jimmy John's?
Yeah.
All day. Oh, let's go. So
that is my new favorite story. I love that story so much. See, I would definitely.
I'm going to bring you a free cookie.
Thank you.
And I would say I'm a podcast star, Todd Oberndorfer.
Todd Oberndorfer.
Podcast star.
Yeah. Todd just says, "Well, you don't know who I am."
You know who I am.
It is easier now that I'm working for the Salt Lake City Arts Council, where I run an art gallery. People are familiar with that position, so it's easy for me to say I run an art gallery. But I'll go so far as to say the Banyan Collective, so that has some recognition at this point. Brandon, just have
free cookies, baby.
Yeah.
Not free cookies, free beer. We just get free beer. But I like the idea of this cookie as well. Yeah, I think that's great. What about you, Troy? How do you introduce yourself in an elevator on a plane?
Starting right now, I'm going to follow Shane and say I'm a musician, man. I love to play music. I play guitar.
I'm an influencer now.
He's an influencer now, yeah. No, but yeah, I play in a band just for kicks. We don't get paid or anything. We just play in a basement and family gigs and parties and stuff like that, and have
all the family weddings.
All the family weddings. Yeah. Everyone's already married, so thank goodness afterwards. But no, I'm a realtor by trade, and I'm passionate about the real estate industry. I'm passionate about the opportunities in real estate to build wealth and helping families get there and help them in that transition. That's what I do. So if you're asking what I do for a living, that's my thing. But I may just change my tune and say,
yeah, we want to know who you are, not what you do for a living.
Yeah.
Like, who are you? Not what you do.
Yeah. So who I am,
a musician.
Who am I? Yeah, I guess I really am.
And you play? What do you play?
I play guitar. And I'm trying to. I like to say I play mandolin, but it's exactly upside down and opposite of a guitar.
Yeah,
It's really messing with my brain. But I'm getting the inverse vision of it and trying to.
Once you make the right chord shapes, you just flip them upside down and it works. Yeah.
So I'm getting the hang of it. Wow. I can play the first 5 frets on a mando pretty okay. But I've got a lot to learn there. So yeah, but music is my passion for sure. And then skiing and mountain biking. I love just being outdoors. I love the focus that those two sports bring me. And of course, I'm a family man. I've got 2 kids, 12 and 15. Apparently, I'm a rodeo. I'm now a rodeo chauffeur. I've got the next 9 weeks booked of high school rodeo for my daughter. She's 15 and going to be running high school rodeo barrel racing. And so we're stoked on that. And my boy, he's into computer coding and rock climbing. So a little outdoors, a little indoors. So that's my jam.
Is that what it looks like now? Is computer coding and rock climbing
and barrel racing?
Yeah, he doesn't code while he's rock climbing, but maybe he could.
No, but that's an incredible backup.
That's a basket of skills right there. Yeah.
Both my kids did ski race at Snowbasin, and I just come back to Troy's story. I can attest to some of the attributes they gained from that. They both have kind of moved on to different things, but it brought great things to their world, and so. Yeah.
We're trying to move to Shane, but I had a question about that because
me, man.
Those sports, rock climbing, mountain biking,
coding,
skiing is way better, but it's hard. Like, the path to being a professional is like, so skiing is probably the best out of maybe all of those kind of outdoorsy sports, I guess.
As far as opportunity,
goes, yeah. I mean, you can, but I don't. What's the? Because your kids ski raced at Snowbasin, and then were they thinking, "Oh, I want to do this as a living"? Like, at what point were they like, "Yeah, no, it's too hard"? Like, how do they transition, and when do they say, "I better be coding on the side" or something?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, like my daughter, we got her a horse. She's been riding horses since she was little, and at some point, she realized it was consuming enough, and she was passionate enough about it that's really where she wanted to put her focus. And there's just only so much time in a week and a day, et cetera, to do it. And so we bought her a horse a couple years ago, and that became her world. And that as well, similar to the attributes she gained from, say, competing in a ski racing or basketball, golf, or whatever it is, it's brought lots of maturity and responsibility and everything to her world. So we're stoked. Whether she becomes pro or not, like just the engagement in outdoor sports, in my opinion, is probably one of the best things you can bring to a kid's life. Teaches them so much beyond just the general responsibility, but the cultural connection and the social connections they get, and the responsibility to take care of their own stuff beyond time, those types of things. So so she kind of naturally gravitated toward it. And then my son, you'll just have to meet him someday. He's great.
Yeah.
He's amazing. But yeah, he opted as well that he wanted to do some other things, and he's a great skier. And we, I always, when I put my kids in the program, my goal was like, look, I just want to be able to ski anywhere on the mountain with my kids. Like, if I could get to that stage, that'd be rad. So my boy's 12, and he'll ski the Y chutes, hidden chute, lone tree, off a no name, no problem. Like, not even a question. We just take him and go, assuming conditions are safe. And when I ski at anywhere, Grand Targhee or Jackson, I turn around and he's right there on my tails. So that's he gained that from his involvement with the ski team.
Is it better for dad to teach him or to hand him off to have some?
Definitely hand him off 100%. Like anything, right? Like kids don't typically listen to their parents nearly as well as they might somebody else.
Yeah.
Especially with certain things, and for sure, probably the coolest thing about the ski team is the cultural vibe, right? The social connections that the kids get, and how they work with their coaches even on a social sphere, and they become friends, and they get to joke and play and have fun, and it's a different environment than with your dad when your dad tells you to put your hands out front or whatever. It's just like dad ordering me to do something again.
More
dad.
Yeah. Price.
Yeah, a few things on my mind there. One is a statement that I use in a lot of coaches' education, and it's not about the corrections that we make in the athletes, but the connections that we make with the athletes. And for me, as we relate this to career opportunities, it's fun for me to in the industry for this is year 26 that I've been coaching, and you come across so many general managers, mountain managers, groomers, ski patrol directors, ski instructors, everybody, and you start to understand that they started in ski racing or part of a youth program. And then again, that's where our foundation, that's where our bread and butter is to build that passion with those young kids. Our development program with 200 kids, like you got to think about how much, like maybe the next general manager of Snowbasin is one of our 200 kids in the Devo program, and you know, owning ski shops just like Alpine Sports and Diamond Peak, like their foundation is within a ski team from their local community, and so there's so many little emphases, and it's cool after 26 years again, like you're invited to weddings, college graduations. Like I flew back east to graduation at Middlebury College simply because of the connection that I made with an athlete, and so those are cool things, and those a great opportunity.
Sports, man, they do.
It's a huge part of our culture here too. I mean, you just have to acknowledge it. Like I was up at the Utah Symphony last night up in Huntsville, and Jeff Hyde with the Compass Rose, that beautiful hotel, like ski racer, right? Yep. You know, it's Jeff Hyde's background is ski racing. That's what his main career still is. But he's building all this cool stuff out in Huntsville that is enhancing that community. And it's like, yeah, skiing is just kind of the backbone of this community in a lot of ways. I mean, at least certainly an important bone. Maybe not the backbone, but it's an important one. Maybe a femur, an ulna, a radius. I don't know. We need it though.
Yeah, I mean, we started the podcast off with like, you know, that athlete to follow, or the Olympics and that dream, but it's really more about building that, keeping that foundation, building that community, and building the people that our community needs.
So I learned to ski from a guy who was my dad's friend, who the reason he was in Utah is because he was from Montana, but he was on the Weber State University ski team as a scholared athlete. Yep. And then but that went away. I don't know how many years ago, right? So is that something that would help push people into like your program, or is that just a whole different thing, like the college side of
no,
of the sport?
For Weber State to bring a program like that back would only enhance our program. You know, and one thing that we have on docket for us is to create that junior coach. So it's the high school level athlete that maybe is shifted to another sport, such as Troy's daughter with rodeo, but when she's available to come ski with a group of 6, 7, 8-year-olds, like there's a huge transfer of information there and a huge opportunity for us as a program to develop those leadership skills and career opportunities. But the kids absolutely love it when another peer comes in and shows them their first 360 or goes off a jump that they got huge air, you know, there's that role model approach and that mentorship. And so we look to expand upon that opportunity.
Sweet.
Shane,
the rest of the show's yours. Take it away.
No, I got a question for you, because I think I've collectively gotten to know you a bit through the years, but do you remember the first time you got paid to play music?
Yep.
Tell us about that.
It was at Union Station.
So when was this? Ish. I know you're old.
20-something years ago, probably.
20-something years ago. And what was the event?
It was the Birds and the Bees, or whatever it was.
Whoa, you're coming back. You're doing.
We're bringing roosters back in, bringing your sponsor back in. Yeah, no, Kim Bouchard. She's the one that basically gave me my first gig, because I used to play on her deck. She was my next door neighbor. We used to live next to each other. And I'd sit on her deck and play guitar. I'd have my window open and be playing the piano, and she'd hear it, and she would always be on me like, "You got to play." And she's like, "You should play. You should get a band. You should." I'm just like, I just like to play for my friends on the deck. That's kind of what I was, kind of like your thing, you know, family, friends, kind of thing. And without really even asking me, she's like, "We're doing this event." It was the very first Birds and the Bees, right?
Well, the one Birds Brews.
It was Birds and Bees. It was Birds and Bees because it was beehive cheese for the bees, and Birds was roosters, and it was the cheese and beer pairing thing that they did. Yeah, and it was like a little mini beer festival with all the new roosters beer and the new beehive cheese. And
sweet.
She's like, "We're doing this event, and you are the band." I'm like, I'm not a band. She's like, "Figure it out, because here's the date, and here's the time, and we're paying you to come do this." And
she's a good friend. That's what they do. They push you.
She pushed me out of my comfort zone and got me out doing it. And then from there, I met other musicians that were like, "Dude, I know a bass player that would be great with you, and I know you should hook up with this guy and play that." And then before you know,
so did you play in high school?
Oh yeah, I grew up playing like piano as a little kid, and from 4th grade through high school, I was a trumpet player, and so I learned that. And then you learn piano was my main thing, and you can't really take a piano around a campfire, you know, like when your friends want to go hang out and sing some tunes. It's like, let me just haul my keyboard down. Anyone got a battery? Got a speaker? Yeah, you know,
you can now.
You can now, but back then it's like, it's easier to I'll just learn what I know on the piano, and so I taught myself to play the guitar. That's why I'm such a bad guitar player, because I'm self-taught. But yeah, so music's been my life the whole time, but. You know, I married young, had 3 kids young, did that whole thing, and so it's like I'm kind of living like I should be in my 20s right now, like a musician in his 20s should be living. Yeah. Because I didn't do it in my 20s. I didn't do it until I was in my late 30s. I started getting into music.
Way more responsible now.
Yeah. Is that what they say about me?
Were you looking for a band when The Proper Way came together? What were you doing before?
No, I was just soloing, doing my solo thing.
Okay.
I had just come out of like a 5-piece band. And I was kind of the lead guy in that band. I wrote all the songs, booked all the gigs, arranged all the travel, did everything. And one of my musicians in the band was a pilot for Southwest Airlines. Like, try putting a tour together when one of your guys is a pilot who's only in town like every now and then, and then everybody else had big boy jobs. You know, I got to go to Washington D.C. to work with Congress for the next 3. And like, so then I tried to hold the band together with getting alternate players that I just kind of get to fill in for the main guys that couldn't make it. And then that just got to be so much headache and so much anxiety. I'm like, this isn't even fun. Why am I doing this?
Yeah.
So I just started playing solo, and then I bumped into Scott, and you know that whole story. But yeah.
Well, that's a good question though. Is it's why why do you do it? And you were doing it because you enjoyed playing music, but then it got to be work and a pain in the ass.
Yep.
So why do you do it now?
Because I finally figured out the right people in the right size band to play with. Like a trio is perfect. And Carrie's the one. The first will tell you, don't call it a threesome. It's a trio. It's a trio.
That's probably for the best.
And we're Carrie. This is her full-time job, is playing with The Proper Way. Yeah. So that we don't have to coordinate her second job schedule or anything like that. Scott's a professor. A lot of online courses. His schedule's pretty loose. Whatever. So it's really easy to coordinate our schedules, and so it's not that much work. And then once we discovered kind of how we play together and how we sing together and stuff, it's like, oh well, this is effortless, Yeah. So.
What's the balance of power in the band? Like, who does what? Because I know the answer is that Scott does most everything.
Scott's everything technical, sound wise, engineering wise in the studio. He's the wires and the nuts and the bolts. He's also like the main kind of point of contact, booker, schedule keeper, calendar guy, does all that. And then I would probably say, and this probably sounds presumptuous, but I would say I'm more like the musical director of it, where like this is the vibe we should probably have, and like this is who should probably take the lead on that verse, not me. It should be Carrie doing that, and then we'll harmonize on this. So I'm like, kind of my day job as a creative director. I kind of do the same thing with our music. I'm like, there's sometimes you're reading a room the whole time. We never play with a set list, so we're just reading the crowd. It's like they seem to be vibing this direction. Let's go that direction for a while. And then
you changed it up on a 4-song set van sessions where you're like, we were going to do this, but now we'll do. I'm like, that was a quick.
Yeah, we didn't know what we were going to play when we got here that night. Yeah,
yeah.
And that's what I love. That's my favorite part. Like, if I had to go out and have a set list that I played the same 15 songs every night or whatever, I would probably I'd have to quit.
Well, didn't you guys start with taking requests?
Oh yeah,
we did it.
Yeah, we had a QR code. This was before COVID even.
Yeah.
Actually, we had an email address. It was on a card.
You guys were keeping QRs alive?
No, it wasn't. Actually, this is pre-QR code. We were just putting our email thing.
Okay.
It's like, hey, if you have a song request, just email us at this email address, and we'll get your request on stage, and we'll play it.
Awesome.
So that was before the website.
Yeah, we were kind of a human jukebox, and then like people would make all these weird requests, and so then we're like, let's make a list of songs they can choose from that we know we can crush. So we had like a list, and that's where the website. But what we were doing was capturing their email addresses every time they'd send us a request. Like, got your email?
Super smart. Yep.
We recognized the data thing. We had friends in Tahoe teach us that.
Do you work in marketing or?
Yeah.
I'm just curious.
Yeah. It's been a process.
So what's that elevator pitch? What's that plain pitch for like the band now? Because it seems like you play fewer and fewer bars these days.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You play a little bit more often outside of Ogden, outside of Salt Lake even.
Yeah, this weekend we're headed to Jackson, Wyoming, and then straight to Vail the next night. We have to go Jackson to Vail overnight and play 2 in a row. So
And you only play in pretty places.
If you ask for our elevator pitch, we just barely dropped a new sticker and T-shirt and stuff. We have a new design right now, and that's our new tagline: is pretty music for pretty people in pretty places. Because we realize that's exactly what we do. We're not going to raise the roof and blow the roof off of any place anymore. We're old dudes playing pretty music, right? And the people we play for are fantastic. And so they're pretty people. And we always are in just like, we're at Snowbasin, we're at Snowbird, we're at Alta, we're at Powder Mountain, we're at, Moran Junction in Jackson, north of Jackson. Then we're at Vale. So it's Sundance. That's our last handful of gigs. So it's like we have these epic backdrops everywhere we go. So like, if you ask what I do, I play pretty music for pretty people in pretty places.
At this point, are they reaching out to you?
Yeah.
Because that took a little bit of time to get
there. It took a minute to get there. There was a lot of hustling before. It was like, hey, can we come play? Trying to pitch. Like, can we get a slot? Can we get and there was the reason, we don't do trios, or we only want bands with drummers and a bass on them, But yeah, we're to the point now where most of those places are reaching out going, we've heard about you guys. We know the vibe you bring. We'd love to have you come play. So.
But that being said, where are you reaching out to? Like, there's still something out there.
Jackson is our new market that we started reaching out to. Jackson Hole. We realized that the way we vibe in the mountains around here, it's like, we've done it in Tahoe, and we've done it in like Colorado a couple times, and then we're like, why haven't we ever played Jackson? We should start pushing ourselves in Jackson. So we did. We're like, we put ourselves in some key marketing places up there to get some attention. And now this will be our second trip this summer up to Jackson. So.
Now, are these mostly events? Are these bars?
Mostly events. Mostly really private, high-end, like rich people events is what we play a lot of. So that's why it's really hard to go play a really cheap bar gig where there's a fight breaking out in the corner and, people are just like screaming over the top of you while you're playing versus like really rich people with a beautiful cabin on the Snake River that want to hear you play pretty music quietly to the sound of the river for like 20 times the money, So I don't want to be all grubby like that and to make it about the money, but it's just so much less stress to play.
Yeah, more about the lifestyle, places. Right? And making those choices about just not.
Oh, if I was 22 years old, I'd be living out of a van, playing bars every other night, and just like making my way down the road. But it's nice to sleep in your own bed or in a really nice hotel provided by the wedding party or whatever. That's pretty nice.
So is that? Well, let's bring it back to Ogden. So, because you're leaving Ogden to find these better gigs sometimes, better paying gigs, I guess. So we've been van sessions, 7 years, something like that, 6 years, 7.
Yeah.
So
that's about the same time as the Proper Way. That's how long we've been going. I think we both started about the same time. Yeah.
So, but you've been playing music in Ogden for much longer, and I had no idea about booking bands, and I booked for the first year or two, and then Todd took over. But has the scene changed much in the last 7 years or 20 years in Ogden? As far as these musicians, it kills me because I'm like, how do you guys make a living? Like so you've found a niche that fits what your band does to make a living and get paid, because Ogden's not a huge town how does it work to make money as a band in Ogden, I guess?
It's not a great place to make money, and that's okay. We're fine with that. We love the community so much that it's like we're not here to make money off the community. Like, so we have a pricing structure. Let's just put it that way.
Got it.
And our friends and family and people close to Ogden get a really, really good deal on the Proper Way because we love to just play close to home to our friends. That's like the most enjoyable thing. We played a house party Saturday night for Casey Zamora in Washington Terrace. Most fun we've had in 3 months. It was a blast.
Awesome.
So we love to do that, and we're playing at the Nature Center here coming up for that Birds Brews and a Band, I think, called.
Yeah, it was something else, but
what was it called?
You took my
it's
DJ job.
Barbecued birds and beer.
Barbecued birds.
Yeah, I can't.
Yeah. So we always donate concerts to the Nature Centers. Like, so if people want a house show, we will donate a free concert that they can sell at an auction, and and we just come play it, and then we can send out our donation to the Nature Center and stuff. So we do a lot of that around town. We love playing close to town, but it's just if you were trying to make a living at it here, it's pretty tough. You have to get out a bit to make a little bit of money.
Okay, that's fair. So is that your advice to bands, local bands, when they're like, hey, what do you do? How do I
just find your niche? Yeah, and every band's different. Some not every band should be playing little swanky high end mountain gigs, but not every band should be playing like gritty bars. It's like it's where you vibe and where you find your people and where they want to come hear you, and that's what we've kind of found. Like, for some reason, the last few bar gigs we've played, fights have broken out every time. And I can't imagine a more peaceful band than us. We're like so chill, playing like Grateful Dead, chill hippie music, and then a fight breaks out. It's like, we didn't inspire that. How did that happen? So,
and Carrie starts them every time.
She's always she doesn't like. I think she does. She doesn't like to play in bars, so I think she starts the fight so she can say, "Yeah, we need to be done with these."
It's too rowdy. Okay, hypothetically, say there was a ski team like locally in Ogden that had a fundraiser dinner sometime in the fall that needed
Wait,
some
I
music.
feel like I know where this is going.
We could always talk offline, but
No,
you know,
now's the
just
time to do
planting
it.
the seed. So
No, yeah, I know the band for you guys. We
Okay,
played the
cool.
Snowbasin Ski Patrol closing party this year. That was
Awesome.
fun.
Yeah, that's cool.
That was a rowdy shindig. I'll tell you that.
I bet.
So, yeah.
I bet. I can only imagine the drummer I know a guy who's a drummer who was probably there. Rowdy ended up.
Uh-huh.
Well, yeah, we talk offline. We've got
Okay.
we do a little fall fundraiser.
No, and that's
Ton
the
of
stuff
fun.
we love to
Couple
do.
100 people. It's a great time. You know, great minds in the room, cool people, and it's I'll call it for a good cause. So.
Oh yeah, we'll definitely jump in on that for sure.
All right, so I got another question for you. So just last month, you were on Van Sessions, which is another show that we do, of course, and you kill it as usual. Talk to me about your experience doing that show.
Doing that
what
show?
does that mean to you? I mean, you've been on so many times. When I say you've been on solo, you've been on with the band, you hang out, each month if you're not gigging.
Yeah.
What does that project mean to you? And I'm not fishing for anything. I just want sort of an honest opinion.
No, and I'm going to sound like I'm just completely pandering, but I mean this from my heart. Van Sessions is probably the most important thing that we have going musically in this town.
Well,
that is no joke. That
you isolate that?
No, it really
I
is.
can replay that.
And I'm not kidding. I'm including like Twilight. I'm including O-Foam. I'm including Blues, Brews, and Barbecues at Snowbasin.
Yes.
All the great music stuff.
Explain why, yeah.
The reason being is that Ogden does not have any kind of all-ages venue anymore. We haven't had one for about 7 years now. And as a musician on the other side watching how the process works, you can see that gap. And these guys talked about developing younger talent and retaining them, right? And bringing them along. Perfect segue into what the music scene is in Ogden. We don't have the Snowbasin in the music industry. They have this beautiful mountain with these facilities and these employees, lifties and ski patrollers that are willing to work with them. We don't have that for all ages. Until you're 21, there's nowhere to play out in Ogden. And what you see happen on the other side of that is 21-year-old bands roll into gigs and they don't know the first thing about what they're doing. They don't know how to set up. They don't know how to tear down. They don't know how to get their gear in and out. They don't know how to work a crowd. They're just inexperienced. And it's no fault of their own. They just haven't had the chance. And Mojo's used to provide that. There was a place for kids to go and pluck their ukuleles awkwardly and sing sad songs and do their thing and become Carrie Myers or Christian Scheller or Sammy Brew, or how many other of those great artists came out of that kind of developmental process. And when it went away, Van Sessions is the only opportunity for those kids to come out and plug in. And sometimes they get loud, and sometimes they're not super professional because they're not supposed to be when they're young.
Yeah.
This is where they learn their chops. It's like, no, learn how to coil that cable and get it off stage so the next band can set up.
Yeah.
You don't have all night to do this. You're doing a job.
Yeah.
And
So this Tuesday night is a coil class. We'll have Shane's teaching.
We'll put on clinic.
No, it's actually not a bad idea.
That was a long way for me to say that Van Sessions is very important to me. That's why I find I always come out to it when I can. If I'm not booked somewhere else, I'm always here on First Friday, just so I can see how it's shaping up. Who's doing what? Where are the movers and shakers? Holy crap, that kid can play guitar. I got to get him into the studio. That girl knows what she's doing on a keyboard. Let's see if she wants to do something else, And you guys are kind of the developmental incubator for music in Ogden right now. Provo's got multiple clubs, That's why you get Imagine Dragons and Neon Trees and the Killers, and because they're out playing when they're 16 years old and they learn how to do it. And so when they're 21 and they hit the bar scene, they're monsters, And that's what we need in Ogden. And you guys are the only ones at the moment providing it. Really,
It's really nice when Shane joins us, because Todd nor I are musicians. At least I don't know about Todd, but to have his credibility and experience in Ogden, and he sort of mentors the kids when they come in, and he's like gives them little hints. He's very nonchalant. He's not overpowering or something. Well, do you know who I am? None of that stuff. It's just he's just sort of hanging out, watching, and then next thing you know, he introduces himself, and then it's like, and he helps them, and so it's really appreciable. So I love every time you're
love
there.
what you guys
it's fantastic.
And I'll be honest, I am, I moved every time you're here because you could spend your your time any number of places on Friday nights. I think the same thing with the bands themselves. I do, of course, see it as an opportunity. At this point, they're it's a nice exchange of content experience. I mean, it's kind of the whole package. But I also know what a Friday night means to any band, right?
Yeah.
That's their moneymaker, right? And the fact that they are willing to take off a Friday night to come hang out with us.
Well, and that speaks to the level of what you guys are delivering as a product. And you say content exchange, that sounds almost like diminutive, like, oh, we're just exchanging. No, it's a big deal. The fact that a music, and that's why it's not just young kids come playing van sessions.
We like the oldies too.
You're getting seasoned pros and some of the best bands in Utah wanting to come play at van sessions because they leave here with a beautiful set of 4 videos and a full interview and things they can use to promote themselves down the road. And that is worth so much to a musician. They're like, yeah, I'll blow off a Friday night gig to get that kind of stuff. And plus, it's always just such a blast hanging out with you guys, and like no one ever leaves here when they're done. They all linger and they all hang, and we all,
So, Shane, do you have some advice possibly for band sessions on how to maintain some of that, right? When you get this demand from bigger bands that are seeing opportunity with band sessions that maybe already have some notoriety, have some experience at things, does band sessions necessarily, book bands that may not be to that level, but that could have that opportunity? And you know what I'm saying? Because I mean, the Friday night for you guys as band sessions is a pretty big deal too, right? You want to have sort of the best of the best and create the best content and have the best viewership and likes and clicks and shares. On the same note, I love what you're saying, Shane. There's a ton of opportunity, it seems like, for some of these up and comers to come and have the interview, get the 4 songs on, and and if it gets closed out from other more established bands, is there another venue, or will band sessions potentially, not to reverse the podcast and become the interviewer?
That's a good
of the
question,
interview,
and I will say that I'm proud of Todd because he's the booker, and we have no rules as far as we just book. Other than they have to. There's a quality now. There is a quality, and we just want. But however, that said, that doesn't, like, some of these kids that come on are not very experienced. But they're good. And so, but yeah, good question.
I love watching some of the kids I've never heard of or anything. And you hear one song and it's like just blown away. I can't remember the girl's name. My wife and I have our Friday night date night standing, and we often will come by here to hear the music and walk through and look at the art and stuff. And there was a gal, she was a solo artist, but just blew me away.
Keyboard?
No, she was on guitar.
Marnie Proudfit.
Maybe, yeah.
Was it just like a month or so ago?
Yeah, about a month ago, maybe.
It was Marnie Proudfit.
It blew me away. I just stood in the corner watching, like, oh my gosh, she's just unique and crazy talented and everything else.
Now, and I know the thing about Todd is he's so organic. I know it's not calculated, but he does a really good job when he books them. You're guaranteed to hear something that you wouldn't have ever heard otherwise.
Yeah.
You're probably guaranteed to hear something that you should have probably heard already and you haven't bumped into yet.
Right. And
you're probably going to hear something you've heard. And that's how it works. Like, there's a good mix of like, oh, these guys are playing Hectic Hobo. I've heard those guys 7 times, but I'll definitely go see them. But then there's like, who are these kids from Roy? And it's like, dang, they blew my mind, you know?
That's the coolest part.
Cool.
The coolest part is to meet these new bands, and also the ones that we don't get to see in Ogden from Logan or from Salt Lake.
And you guys have cultivated a hell of an audience that understands that. They know they're not here to see headlining bands. They know they're not here to see like yesterday's garage band that just started. They're going to get a good mix of like, okay, this is what's going on in the music scene in our area. You guys really have like figured that out really well. You curate a really good show.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. And I think that you mentioned it before, and I'm, we also work in the arts as well. And so I feel the idea at a city sort of arts level, when we bring in, say, a muralist from outside of this state or somewhere, how inspiring that can be. And so it's the same idea bringing in a professional skier or something like that, and really what that can do.
Yeah,
and so
it's a motivating factor
some of these bands and musicians that I'm bringing from Salt Lake City have taken 2 years to court them to get them up here. Like, some of these bands are very, very big. We put together a nice package of a fun night. Like, let's be honest, and it's probably even above that. Like, it really is a special night. And so
many Twizzlers,
so many Twizzlers. But the word is definitely out amongst sort of Salt Lake and Logan and Provo and some of these bands that Ogden may not know just how big they are, right?
Yeah.
In their areas, basically, where they do live. And I love that idea as well, is that you're swinging by to see a a local kid, but you're also seeing probably one of, you know, Salt Lake's biggest bands. You know?
Yeah.
And so it's word of mouth more than anything. I think that reaching out to me directly and just being able to kind of be open and honest and, you know, and know maybe I can't get you on this year, but we're not going anywhere.
Yep.
And so just keep practicing. We'll get you on the schedule for next year.
Yep.
Or come hang out with us.
Yeah.
I always put this pitch out as well because Brandon is back of house and I'm front of house on these nights, right? And so Brandon is busy, so busy on those nights. Good luck trying to find some time. If you want to hang out with Brandon, it's probably after van sessions, right?
Yes, after.
And but it's a great time to chat with him if you do have questions about, you know, what we do as far as producing it. But over the course of the night, if you're a musician or if you're a fan of music, just come hang out with us, right? That's like one of the biggest things. And
you know, and now we're going to go back to Marnie Proudfit. I watched Marnie Proudfit show up to this thing probably 4 or 5 times in a row that she wasn't booked. She just came down to hear the music, and then you guys had her on that same week that we were on.
Mm-hmm.
And like Marnie is one of those. Like, yeah, you're going to bump into like some of the top-notch musicians because they're going to come down here and hang out. And they're doing the same thing I'm doing. It's like, let's see who's happening. Let's see what's going on in the music scene right here, right now, because this is where it really starts, is stuff like this. So.
You probably hear things in real time better than I do. I was there for Marty. Obviously, I was in the van producing it live, right?
Yeah.
But I just edited her set today, and I heard things that I'm like, this so good. So listening to it back, I always hear it differently than when we record live.
Yep. No, I it's one of my biggest sources of pride. I think Marnie Proudfit's first paid gig.
Oh, nice.
Because my daughter had come home, Kai, who's the ski patroller up at Snowbasin. She came home one day from like a girls' camp or something. And she goes, this girl named Marnie Proudfit played the guitar and sang, and she's the most beautiful singer I've ever heard. And then I was hanging out with Pete and Kim at their house, because like it always comes back to Pete and Kim, right? Hanging out there.
They sponsor van sessions with
and
Roosters.
but they lived right next door to the Proudfits. And so I said to Kim, I said, they were on me to play something. They're like, play some music, because they always are, right? I'm like, I'm tired of playing music. What? You should get your neighbor to come over here and play us a song. So she called Marnie and said, Marnie, would you come over and play some music? And she's like, I have homework tonight and I can't. She was like 16 or 17 years old. And I said, tell her I'll pay her $20 to come sing one song for us. And so next thing you know, it's like, she knocked on the door and walked in and played a song, and I threw her $20, and then like everybody else in the room threw another couple, like $20-$30.
Yeah.
And then she played 3 or 4 more songs. It's like, so like that was her first pro gig. Then she went off to Berkeley and blew up, and now she's the most amazing musician in the world. But
that's rad.
That's my source of pride. Is I gave her her first paid gig.
Well, I appreciate you sharing all of that. That being said, what's Proper Way got going this summer?
Yeah.
Do you keep track of those things?
I usually just week of. I usually look at the calendar to see where I have to go that week. But yeah, no, and we're Jackson Hole in Colorado for private events this weekend, and then the Birds, Brews, and a band and bees and buzzards. And
if you haven't gone out for one of these, that is a really good night out.
Yeah. So that's the other local one coming up, and then I'm honestly not sure. I haven't looked out far enough to know, but we're staying busy.
Well, you guys do a great job of posting your scheschedules.
Yeah, we try not to bug you too much.
Some private events, but there's always public events.
Yeah, we get out there.
Catch us.
You can catch us somewhere.
What's a Proper Way fan called now? Do you guys have a little grippy name?
Todd Oberndorfer is what we call our fan. No, I don't know.
We're gonna have to.
There's not enough time. There's not enough time in this podcast to go into Todd's support of us. He took a road trip to Evanston with us one night, and it was pretty epic.
So that we're going to introduce a pay model. If you pay extra, you can get that story behind the scenes.
Stories. That's where you get the X-rated version of this podcast.
The after hours.
After hours. Todd, do you have any arts news?
No, I don't.
I do.
Okay.
Get up to Huntsville and check out the Greenhouse Art Company. Seriously, it's like a mini Monarch. The Monarch has all these amazing artists doing all these different things. Greenhouse Art Company has like a silversmith, and I did this on Van Sessions. I'm sorry to keep plugging these guys so hard, but they're so cool.
Yeah.
There's like a silversmith, a potter, a printmaker, a painter. There's cooking classes. They're like everything. They do it all. It's just an amazing place, and it's like Huntsville is turning into this cool little vibey place that you can hang out at. It's not just a Shooting Star anymore. Between Compass Rose and Huntsville Square and the Gold Rush Gallery and now Greenhouse Art Company and IDK Barbecue, it's like you can go up and spend an evening in Huntsville and have a pretty good time. So that's my arts news: is go support those artists up in Huntsville. So
that's awesome. I have one adventure news. Hank the Tank, the fugitive black bear,
I'm familiar with
accused of 21 home invasions, has been captured. He has been captured.
So
and
we
it's
can
not
rest
and
easier?
it's not a he. It's not Hank. They thought it was Hank because it is a 500-pound black bear. So lovingly called Hank the Tank. Yes, terrorizing South Lake Tahoe, California. Then they found out it was a female, and then they found out that the mom was bringing the cubs to do the terrorizing with her. And so after 152 reports of conflict behavior, including up to 28 home break-ins, they finally caught the bear. They did some DNA testing to make sure it was the correct bear, but so normally they would euthanize, because once the bear gets into the cabins and stuff, it's not good for a bear. But the bear's famous, so the bear's like, well, do you know who I am? I'm Henrietta the bear. So they are relocating her to a Colorado sanctuary once she's recovered from like the veterinary clearance, and then they're welcoming her as Henrietta the Tank. The 3 male cubs who were tagged along with several break-ins will also be relocated and rehabilitated in hopes that one day they can return to the wild. So not killing the fugitive. I guess she did not earn the death.
That is the story that I wanted it to end like that.
Yeah.
I'm so happy.
It is. Yeah, it is. There you go. There's more to the story on that. This is on NPR, but to give you an idea, an average black bear weighs about 275, and she is around 500. So she's a big bear.
That's so many break-ins. It's kind of impressive.
Sounds like she's from Ogden.
All right, we'll leave you this week. I want to say thanks, first of all, to Banyan One for powering today's episode of the Ogden Arts and Adventure Show. Listen and subscribe to us on YouTube, Ogden Arts and Adventure. We're also on Facebook, Instagram, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. BanyanCollective.com is our website, and the Podbean app, and iPhones, all that kind of good stuff. DM us if you want to be on the show. Just DM us at Ogden Adventure. So I queued up Michelle Moonshine,
Right
All Country Blues. So she wrote this, a phenomenal songwriter, but it's Turtle Dovin. So her and Andrew Wiscombe are in on this, but this is All Country Blues from Michelle Moonshine as recorded at Van Sessions. We'll see you on the next Ogden Arts and Adventure Show.
Singing the same song in 2 bars on 2 sides of town, to people who don't care, are drunk and unaware of how long this song took to write. Michigan's in the rearview now, and blue eyes are crying in the rain, and these swinging doors are all I have anymore, but I'll be your baby tonight. Tucked the kids into bed with little kisses and a song, 6 roosters deep, and missing out on sleep, and wondering where it all went wrong. And Michigan's in the review now, and blue eyes are crying in the rain. And these swinging doors are all I have anymore, but I'll be your baby tonight. And these swinging doors are all I have anymore, but I'll be your baby tonight.
So good. Total Dovin on band sessions.